So as a reminder, once again, best of threes all around tonight. No best of fives, unfortunately. Would love to get some more games out of all these players, but alas, just how brutal these qualifiers are. At spawning, in the top left-hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Terran player. Representing On-Site Gaming, it is Ryung. And spawning, in the bottom right-hand corner of Babylon, we have the opponent. We have the American Protoss representing Macherino Esports. It is Astrea. I'm catching up in the chat. Prepare to get TY. Let's go. Gotta see TY is back, a big brain Terran player. Yeah, it's always great to see players when they return. You know, players like TY, Stats, Innovation. It's great to see them back. Great to see them coming back to the game, coming back to StarCraft. Feels good, man. Feels good. Hope that they all manage to do well this season. Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, we don't really have that many seasons of GSL this year. So every season does count that much more. As Ryung is setting up for a Rax expand, Astrea going for a scout right after that gateway. Going to be getting eyes on things, going to be disrupting the production a little bit and confirming the lack of second gas. So he knows that Ryung is going for a much more economic opener. Now, is he going to be as greedy as TY? Is Ryung going to go for that fast third CC like we saw, or like we have seen many Terran players do on this map on Babylon? Wouldn't be opposed to it. Wouldn't be opposed. Again, Astrea is just trying to be as annoying as possible, trying to delay that CC, but it is going to be thrown down on location for Ryung. And again, now Astrea is aware that, okay, his opponent isn't being too crazy, isn't being overly aggressive in the early game. I'm safe to get into my own opener as well. I'm curious if Ryung throws down additional Raxes or if he goes for that third CC. Oh, no, okay. Is going for that factory instead. So a 1-1-1 setup from Ryung. Nothing too crazy, unfortunately. The other reason why I was hoping for it is that because Maru has been doing it recently, and typically Maru and Ryung, because they are teammates and because they do talk a lot about the game together, they do sometimes emulate each other, but alas, not this time. As Astrea, back at home, throws out his tech of choice. It's not going to be a Stargate opener, which is something we've been seeing game after game from Classic. Thankfully, this is a little bit refreshing. No Stargate this time. It is going to be a Twilight Council opener instead. Meanwhile, the Adept makes it across the map, going to try and delay this CC, and he does get a kill on one of those workers. He wants the other. Up. SCV does jump into the bunker, saving its life. And the CC will finish. Now the question becomes, how committed is this Blink opener going to be for Astrea? We can see a 2-gate opener into a fast third base. We can see a 3-gate opener into a little bit more aggression, a little bit more of an assertive army, or something more committed with 4 gates instead. Looks like Astrea is setting up for that third base. Yeah, nothing too crazy out of Max Angel, going for a faster third base, going for, once again, something a little more economic. So no fireworks are going to be happening here. Oh, God. In the early game, as Astrea maybe maybe having a hard time with, or maybe a little bit stressed out as he does misplace that Nexus. A little bit of lost resources. Nothing too major, but not ideal. Not ideal. He does throw it back down. And back at home, Ryung is going to be moving out with a bit of a mine drop. A pretty committed one, actually. 3 winter mines zooming across the map. With this, we're ideally going to be getting a little bit of scouting information. Ryung is going to be looking for that tech, figuring out what Astrea has been up to, and maybe even getting an eye on the base count. Ryung dips in with his Reaper. Oh, and he does come across the third Nexus. So again, he knows that he is safe back at home. Knows that he can cut some corners. Doesn't need to overinvest in defenses. Mind Drop is ready to dive in. Again, it's not going to be overly committed here from Ryung. There's no armory with this, for example. The mines do get dropped on Astrea. There's no reaction. Uh-oh. Astrea, earlier, he did misplace his Nexus, and here as well, he loses 8 probes to the mines, and they both escape. Oh, God. Another mine shot going off here at the natural. This time, Astrea was looking. He was able to pull back in time. But this is not a good start here from our American Protoss. Behind this, he's being greedy tech-wise. He's still only on 2 gates. He's working towards a bait to get into Colossus production or disruptors. But Ryung has already done more than enough with this opener. Like, these Widow Mines are really only meant to get 1 probe each. But any more than that is definitely a bonus here for Ryung. As Astrea is doing, he's reciprocating that damage a little bit, he's going to be able to pick up quite a number of these Marines. You want the mines, they come back in. Thankfully, this time they don't get too much damage done. As Ryung was focusing across the map with that drop. And he's working towards his own 3rd CC. Again, there's no real like pressure on Ryung. He's just building up energy on that Raven. Going to be working towards his 3rd base, and then later on that tank push. And when that push arrives, it's gonna be pretty terrifying here for Astrea. It's gonna be on him to try to make sure this Raven doesn't get out of control. Even though Astrea is rushing into Colossi, all it takes is a solid disable or 2, and suddenly Astrea loses his firepower. So it's a delicate dance. Delicate dance that they are gonna have. As the first 2 medevacs do pop out, and Ryung is going to be going for a bit of drop play here just to harass, test the waters. Looks like he's going to be joined by that Raven as well. Now the Colossi is in position, so there shouldn't be too much damage being done here to this 3rd base. The main looking a little bit more exposed, but Ryung, again, he's just looking for some damage. His upgrades are kicking in. Stim, done. Combat shields on the way. I believe +1 is done as well. No, sorry, never mind. I saw the eBay, so I assumed +1 was done, but alas, hasn't even started. I think that's a bit of a mistake from Ryung. I think he may have forgotten it. As the NG Bay has been done for quite some time, and usually we should have +1 at this point. Ryung is going to be moving out, just dancing with the army, getting his 3rd base up and running. Working towards Vikings. He was able to scan earlier, confirming the army composition of Astrea. Your +1 army. Yeah, I think, yeah. I do think that Ryung forgot. Usually you get armor after +1 attack. So I think he assumes he already got it. But hopefully it's not the biggest of deals. Hopefully he's able to catch up. As time goes on. Astrea looking for a better angle of attack. He does have a prism diving into the main base, looking to try and pull apart Ryung. Tanks aren't quite sieged either. Ryung is going to be able to force this back at the same time. The Zealots do dive into the main. Do we have anything here to defend? We have a couple of Marauders. The SCVs are pulled as well. Oh, a lot of workers are going down. As Astrea moves in at a pretty opportune moment as soon as Ryung unsieged. The Zealots in the main still haven't been cleaned up, and just like that, in one fell swoop, Ryung, he had a pretty solid start to this game. His economy is in shambles. It's non-existent. He's got less than 40 workers at this point. And Astrea, he's got his own 4th base on the way, despite the fact that Ryung did so much damage earlier with those mine drops. His economy is now in shambles. He still has a large army though. You know what he lacks in workers, he makes up for in tanks and Vikings, in Marines and Marauders. I do think he can still take a fight, and he wants to. You can see he wants to move out. He doesn't want to be slowed down. Zealots are forcing his reinforcements back. Does go for a scan. Does see the army. Ooh. Solid volley on that Colossus. Ryung, he wants to keep on pushing. Oh god, it's gonna be crazy. He's gonna be pushing into 3 disruptors, which is gonna be so difficult. 2 Novas go off, they take down a tank. Already a good start for Astrea. He's got 1 Nova left. As the tanks do slowly siege on forward. Again, Ryung is very all in with this. His third base, non-existent. Well, the economy at his third is non-existent. He needs to end the game here and now. Disruptor goes down. We have 2 more being made as we speak. Astrea, can he hold on long enough for them to come out? You see Astrea setting up a surround or even a counterattack. Another Nova does go off, and here we go. Astrea tries to collapse on the army. But Astrea loses so much. I don't think he has enough. He's coming from behind as well. We have the anti-armor missile on the Colossi. We have the disables as well. And there's too much Terran. The Marauders bust on through. Nova goes up. A decent connection, but there's not much else here for Astrea. The Colossus goes down. There's 1 disruptor left. And Ryung does a GG gets called. Ryung takes game number 1. GG. That was a stressful moment for Ryung, not gonna lie. Oh my god, the Zealot counterattack in the main base as well as at the third base just completely forced him all in. If the game went on any longer, then Astrea would have been able to snowball out of control. But Ryung was able to pull it off and, yeah, puts a point on the board. GG. Meanwhile, Astrea, again, was lacking a little bit when it comes to his keeping up with the multi-aggression, I guess, of Ryung. Like, he wasn't able to keep up with the mine drops earlier, which was a little bit brutal, but that may just be Astrea warming up. We'll see. We'll see how things turn out in game number 2. And Ryung 1 game away from qualifying for GSL. Astrea needs to bring it back here and now. Look at you, you know. As we are diving into this and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gressfarm, we have the South Korean Terran player. Currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 qualifying match. It is Ryung. Onside gaming and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. We have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player representing Matcherino Esports. Down in this series, needs to bring it back here and now. It is Astrea. Hello, Astrantor in the chat. Where is Innovation? I remember him. Such a good Terran. Innovation did go to the military. He did finish his military service earlier this year, and Innovation was in the last season of GSL just a couple of months ago. So he is competing a little bit again, a little bit. But I don't believe he showed up for the qualifiers this time. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it is a shame. So Innovation didn't show up for the qualifiers for this season, even though he did make it into the main event last season of GSL. He wasn't there this season, so tis a shame. Tis definitely a shame. I was saying this earlier. Innovation, TY, and Stats, they aren't full-time. Like, they aren't full-time StarCraft. They, you know, they have other, I'm pretty sure they have other jobs that they do, you know, rely on. So it isn't their main focus. I think TY might, I know he streams a little bit, but I don't think he's, I'm not too sure. I could be corrected in the chat, but I don't think he's a full-time streamer, from my understanding. I think that was like his original plan, but I don't know if he followed through with that. I could be mistaken on that though. But I know for Innovation and Stats, they do have other means of income, other things going on. Unfortunately, like, it'd be great to see them coming back in full form again. It'd be amazing. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. As Ryung is setting up for a Rax expand once again. Going to be getting his CC on location, followed up by that factory. So very similar opener here from Ryung as to game number 1. Meanwhile, he does avoid the initial unit with that Reaper. He dives in, and even though we have a hidden Twilight Council at the natural, the Reaper does spot it, does confirm it. Ryung is aware of the blink opener. We'll see how this does come to pass as the depth gets across the map. A little bit too late to delay the CC. This time Ryung is able to get his CC up and running at a reasonable hour. Behind this, got our 1-1-1 opener. Widow Mines are on the way as well. We expect this to be leading into a mine drop just like game number 1. So nothing nothing too crazy out of Ryung. No major deviation, I should say, when it comes to his builds. Likewise, Astrea hasn't thrown down additional gateways yet. We got 2 gateways so far. The Reaper dives into the main once again, getting a couple of probe kills. 4 probe. Oh my god. I was not expecting that. As we don't have WSS Game Heart, but this one Reaper has 4 probe kills, 5 probe kills already. Oh my, this is already getting a bit out of hand. To be fair, one of those probes was a scouting probe across the map, so not as devastating, but still. It's a lot of damage done for one Reaper. Meanwhile, just like that last game, it's basically a repeat of game 1. Astrea is going for a 2-gate Blink Stalker opener into a 3rd base. Again, very macro-oriented from Astrea. Not too aggressive at all. Now, hopefully this is where things change, as Ryung is moving out with that mine drop. Hopefully this is where Astrea is able to keep up and react in time and doesn't lose too much as the Adepts move out, and it looks like the mine drop has been spotted, so Astrea has far more of a heads up this time. Able to keep vision on that drop. And even force it back. And with Blink being done, yeah, Ryung, he isn't going to find anywhere near as much damage. He knows he's in trouble. He has to try to hide this mine drop in the dead space. Behind this, Astrea able to just saturate his bases and get into a longer game, straight into that bay, straight into those Colossi. Again, this is the moment where Astrea is at his most vulnerable because he barely has an army. He's taking up quite heavily. He's working on his 3rd base. But again, I don't think Ryung is going to be pushing out anytime soon. He's still... likewise, also working on his own upgrades. He's got his initial tanks as well to defend it against any kind of 4-gate Blink Stalker play. Ryung wasn't able to get eyes on the 3rd base, so it goes to show as to why he made the tanks first, just to be safe and sound, as he is in the dark. And that also makes sense as to why Ryung is moving out with his Raven this time as well, just to try to get some scouting information, figure out what is going on. Stalkers do arrive, and hey, without Stim, we're able to pick off a couple of these Marines. Not too bad. A couple of SCVs go down as well. Auto harass being set up here at the main base. Meanwhile, the mine drop going towards that 3rd. We're going to be able to get quite a bit of damage here. Meanwhile, in comes that mine drop in towards the natural base. And do we react? We do. Thank God. We do pull back in time. Uh-oh. Okay. Ryung, he goes for the unburrow. But alas, Astrea is able to react as well. Does pull back, and he's going to lose a little bit of extra mining time here, but he will minimize his losses, as he's able to go back to mining. And I believe Ryung, yep, he scouted the bay. He, of course, saw the 3rd base. He's aware that Astrea is going for the same build that he went for last game. Again, very economic, very greedy tech-wise. And this time, Ryung didn't forget +1. Let's go. +1 is actually about to finish up. As opposed to last game where we forgot it entirely. And as Astrea moves out, Ryung is setting up for a bit of a double drop in towards the main base. Does get eyes on these Stalkers, is hoping to distract Astrea with that army. At the same time, here comes the double drop. And a late reaction from Astrea. So many probes are going to be going down. I say so many. Almost every single worker here goes down. We are forced to recall. There aren't enough stalkers. The medevacs do get out. But no, here come the reinforcements. And the medevacs... Oh, they survive? No shot. Both medevacs barely managed to escape. The Raven as well. Ay, ay, ay. And Ryung, he wants to keep on pushing. Reinforcements coming across the map. Ryung does have a lot of momentum going his way. He does have to be careful. He's still up against 3 Colossi, and I think... Oh my god. Never mind, Astrea with a little bit of miscontrol. He does take a couple of tank shots to the face. At the same time, we do have a Zealot run by hitting the third base of Ryung, and he doesn't really have too much back at him to defend. SCV's falling left and right. Ryung has to make a choice. He doesn't turn around. He wants to keep on pushing. Cybercore goes down. No more Stalkers. No more Adepts. The Zealots are going to be able to get on top of this army. Can they clean up this tank? It looks like they barely will not. But that was 10 SCVs going down for Ryung. And the Zealot run by, they don't stop. They do not stop. They keep on going across the map. I do think Ryung should leave. I don't think he's really achieving too much here anymore, and I don't think he can break his opponent. He wants to. He's sending his reinforcements across the map, but no, a tank is going to get caught out. Oh, a massive pick off for Astrea. Like, Ryung wants to end the game, and I don't blame him, but he's kind of creating these opportunities for Astrea at the same time. Oh, the gateway does fall. Astrea setting up a surround. Oh. I don't think we have enough to really defend against this as they come in from the front. They come in from behind. Disable a little bit too late, and Ryung is being cleaned up. Was just a little bit overzealous. With that, the army advantage that Ryung once had. I mean, he still has it, but it's not as large as it once was. Back at home, Ryung just trying to get his third base up and running. And now Astrea has the map control. Thankfully, these Zealot Rabbis aren't going to do too much. Like, Ryung this time is in position, but Astrea, he's getting ready for a drop into the main base. The main army's going to be pushing through into the third. Or, never mind. It's going to be vying for map control, getting a fourth base behind this. Like, Astrea is pretty well set up for a tri-pronged attack, and here we go. The Zealots do dive into the main base. Vikings are waiting for it, so the Prism is going to go down. At the same time, the main army wants to try to push into the third base, but no, Ryung is in position, and yeah, he cleans this up pretty easily. Thankfully, Astrea didn't overcommit, and he only loses Zealots, and that Prism as well, to be fair, but no major losses from the Protoss. Able to expand behind this. Ryung working on his own fourth base. Things are settling down. Earlier, I do think that Ryung was getting further ahead, but now like things are evening up at least a little bit. At least a little bit, especially with these disruptors on the way. Astrea just diversifying his splash damage. Low side disruptors working on his upgrades as well. He has a pretty robust army, all things considered. I don't think Ryung can really push out anytime soon. Oh, he's going for a drop, though. He's not going for a push, he's going for a massive Doom drop instead. A bold move here from Ryung. Thankfully, Astrea not going to quite be in position. He does have a lot of map vision. He's got Zealots scattered all around the map. Pylons as well. Is he going to spot this? It looks like he barely will. Drop gets spotted. Blink Stalkers are on the way. Oh, Ryung, he's gonna get the hell out of here. Oh! Oof. Loses a full medevac. It's a bold move from Ryung, and to be fair, if it did get across the map unscattered, then it could have done a lot of damage. Alas, he was unable to pull that off. And yeah, it looks like with this, Astrea, he's just containing Ryung behind this. He's taking up even further. We have a third Robo on the way. We have a Dark Shrine as well for DTs. Astrea just taking up in every direction he can. Making sure he has the production to replace his Disruptors and Colossus in case a fight goes awry and he loses too much. And he's been able to come back. He's been able to bounce back in this game. Any kind of advantage that Ryung once had isn't really there anymore. Things have, for the most part, evened up. And yeah, Astrea, he's just looking to try and contain Ryung into these 3 bases. He wants to try to punish this 4th base. Massive anti-armor missile goes off, but an even better Nova goes off as well. Oh my god. Massive connections on the Ghosts, on the Marauders. Despite the anti-armor missile, Astrea, he didn't even care. It didn't even matter. He trades so well. Now he can just rotate around, look to hit the 3rd base. More Novas go off and up. Oh my god, one gets sniped, the other doesn't. Another massive Nova. Ryung, por favor. He thinks he's Bjorn. Your names are similar, to be fair, but oh god, just unable to snipe those Disruptors in time. We are transitioning. We have a Fusion Core on the way and a 2nd Starport. So Ryung wants to work towards Liberators, but it may just be too little too late. Don't know if he's going to have the time to actually get into that. He's also over-invested into Vikings. We never got up to 3 Colossi, if you recall. We only had those 2. And now we only have 1 remaining. Like, so much supply is tied up in these Vikings, and there's so little for them to do. So here we go, Astrea. He's pushing in from both angles. The tanks are exposed. They're going down one after the other. Nova does get dodged, but Ryung doesn't have much of a standing army left. He's down to only 2 tanks. Up. Decent little skirmish here from Ryung. Definitely decent. But again, it does feel like he's being spread a little bit too far thin. Get a DT warp in into the main base. We force a scan. I miss the chaos. Astrea wants to push into the 3rd base. There are no tanks in position. Looks like we're only going to be sniping that tower. And the bunker as well. And even more. Oof. And hey, the Vikings at least get the Colossi. To be fair, they do get it. But the backbone of the army for Ryung is now gone. We can push on forward even further. I don't think there's anything stopping Astrea from just snowballing from this point. He may have had a rough game 1, but here in game 2, he was able to bounce back. And there's too much Protoss. GG gets called. Astrea ties up the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. Going all the way to game number 3. GG. Again, Ryung had a pretty damn good start initially, if you recall, with his push, getting quite a lot of damage done already with it, containing his opponent to his 2 bases. But alas, again, I do think he stuck around a little bit too long outside the natural of Astrea, and yeah, everything kind of snowballed from there. Snowballed out of control. As we have ourselves an ace match, and it's going to be taking place on Royal Blood. Let's go. And here we go, spawning. In the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the South Korean Terran player representing Onside Gaming. Oh, being forced into the ace match, it is Ryung. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player representing Macherino Esports, tying up the series in that last game, forcing the ace match. It is Astrea. Both players 1 game away from qualifying for this season of GSL. Uno Mas is what they both need. Only one can make it through this series. As a reminder, the loser of this series goes up against Dark. And I don't think anyone wants to play against Dark. Ay, ay, ay. Dark is lying in wait in the lower qualifying match, hungrily waiting for either a Protoss or a Terran to fall down to meet him. Oh boy. It's not ideal, Papi, not ideal. Sure, no one wants to take that chance. For the time being, once again, Ryung setting up a Rax Expand. He's been going for the same opener every game so far this series. Is he going to mix it up? You totally can. Like, there's quite a lot of different, like, variety or diverse builds that you can open up with as a Terran in TVP. Likewise with Protoss. Like, I shouldn't harp on Ryung too much because literally both players have been doing the same thing every game this series. It's a massive shout out to Litany of Fear in the chat. Thank you so much for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Puppy. Thank you. Really do appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. Hope you enjoy your emotes. Hope you enjoy your replay packs. If you're interested, we do provide replay packs from a lot of the events that we cast over on our Discord server. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I should also mention, sorry, there was a resub earlier and I didn't mention it. Manekino in the chat. Gracias. Gracias. Also subscribing for 2 months in a row with Twitch Prime. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was in the middle of the base trade of TY versus Classic. So I'm sorry I didn't point it out earlier, but thank you. Thank you as well. Always do appreciate it. As we're getting into this, and once again it's going to be a Twilight Council opener from Astrea, just like he's been doing every game so far. Likewise, Rax Expand into a 1-1-1 from Ryung. No one is really mixing things up too much. Not yet, anyway. Not yet. So Ryung is just going to be poking and prodding with his Reaper. This time he is denied entry into the main base, so he hasn't scouted the initial tech. He is a little bit in the dark as to what Astrea is up to. Oof, Reaper trying to dip on in, but no, Astrea at every turn is there to deny him. And once again, it's going to be that Blink opener, 2 gateways, and I believe Astrea is looking to set up for a 3rd base once again. So again, very economic, very greedy play here from the Protoss. Not overly greedy, just, you know, I would say the most economic opener that you can go for in PvT. Most meta economic opener. There it is, 3rd Nexus is thrown down. So again, it is a very passive style with this. Like, Astrea doesn't really have too much map control in the early game. He isn't like threatening the main base with Blink Stalkers or threatening the natural. He's just going to be rushing into his Robo and then rushing into his Bay, rushing into his Colossus once again. It's a really solid way to play. Not too fancy, but you don't need to be. It's fine, it's fine. Behind this, Ryung is once again going for his Mind Drop. And we've been getting some mixed results here. And if you remember in game 1, this kind of was almost the game-winning move for Ryung, where he was able to cripple the economy of Astrea, get so many probe kills. I want to say 8 to 10 probe kills. And then he was able to snowball out of control from there. Game 2, he only got 2 probes. Very minimal damage. Astrea was able to see it coming a mile ahead. And at this time, as the drop comes in, Stalkers are ready for it in the main base. Natural's a little bit more exposed, but Ryung is headed towards the main, and Astrea should be able to react in time. He has eyes on this. Stalkers react. Mines do get dropped off. Up. But Blink is done. 3 probes go down. The medevac was sniped as well, and Astrea completely cleans this up. A really solid start here from Astrea. Ryung, he got a little bit of scouting information. He saw that, I mean, now he knows for certain it was a Blink Stalker opener at least. But that was a really rough loss for Ryung. Losing the mines isn't too big of a deal, but losing the medevac, like, that's quite a bit of gas down the drain. So a bit of a rough start here for Ryung. Behind this, Astrea working towards his Colossi, working towards his Immortals. He has the map control. Has been doing a great job of just splitting off his units, trying to keep an eye on any kind of drop that moves out across the map. And, oh, hello. This is a little bit different. Ryung throws down 2 additional Raxes behind this. He's got +1 on the way. This is looking a lot more committed here from Ryung. We'll see. He can still throw down a 3rd CC, to be fair. It looks like he may be setting up for that with this SCV. Yeah, he may just be setting up for a bit of a later 3rd CC. Okay, so he's not going all in. I was getting excited, man. I was getting a bit excited. But yeah, Ryung is going to be moving out, at least with the job. This is going to be hitting. This should be hitting with Stim. Stim should be finishing up by the time it moves out across the map. Ryung just backing up some resources and should be throwing down that 3rd CC momentarily. Watch him throw down like 2 more Raxes. Now, there we go. There's that 3rd CC. So not all in by any means. Just prioritizing his production as we get into the swing of this. And this just goes to show how much scatting Astrea does have. Because of these spotter pylons, these spotter adepts, the double drop does get spotted, and Ryung, he can't quite commit to it. He, of course, is respecting Astrea and aware that there are Blink Stalkers active on the map, now hunting down his drop. So he is going to back off. And yeah, from here, Astrea has been slowly building up this army, and now we have 2 Colossi, we have an Immortal as well. This is pretty threatening. I do still favor Ryung in a head-to-head engagement, especially if the tanks are sieged. A decent anti-armor missile onto the Gateway army. Force fields do cut the forces of Ryung. He does bleed out quite a bit. Ryung just taking control of the center of the map, of the ramp, pushing Astrea back. And behind this, he should be getting his 3rd base up and running. With charge completing, I don't really know if it's going to be wise for Ryung to move out. I think that's kind of what Astrea wants. Especially now that we have a 3rd Colossus on the map. Ryung is going to have to respect that. And we could be looking for potentially a longer game as Astrea throws down the 4th base. Zealot run by being set up to punish the 3rd base, and oh, let's go! The 3rd was a fake! I was like, why is it not an orbital? And I noticed those Raxes earlier, so it is a 2-base all-in. The boys are being pulled. The game is going to end one way or another. But against 3 Colossi and Force Fields, this is going to be a rough push, not going to lie. Oh boy, can Ryung pull this off? Raven still has plenty of energy for disables. He wants the Colossi. He's going for the anti-armor missile instead. Bold move. The boys are pulled. They're going down. 3 Colossi raining down on this army. The Zealots, they're coming from behind. We get a full surround. Astrea completely swallows up this army. And that's it. GG gets called. Astrea takes the series 2-1, qualifying for GSL. GG. I appreciate the fake 3rd base from Ryung. But I don't know, especially after he scanned all 3 Colossi, was a bold move. Was a bold move to commit to the all-in anyway. Seeing the army he was going up against. GG. Also, I really enjoyed the anti-armor missile, by the way. I don't know if you noticed, he targeted a Colossi with his spell, and immediately the Colossus got picked up. So if he was targeted by a disable, it wouldn't have landed. But the anti-armor missile was splash damage, so he still got some value out of his Raven. But despite that, you know, it wasn't quite enough anyway. Oh god, Astrea just had far too much, and GG, well played. Astrea does take the series. Does make it into this season of GSL. We at least have 1 foreigner. Let's go. That's all we ask for. That's all we ask for. And that means that we have our next matchup. I was talking about it earlier. Dark was waiting. Dark has been patiently waiting here for the loser of this series, for that lower qualifying match. It's going to be one or the other, and it is going to be Ryung. So up next, Dark versus Ryung. Oh boy. Now, we have seen Ryung beat Dark before, but I do think that regardless of who lost this series, Dark would be the favorite. Whether it was Astrea or Ryung, I think it's going to be a rough one. Dark, of course, the best Zerg player in South Korea right now. And I wish the best. I wish the best to Ryung. I hope he can make a series out of this. I hope so. I'm a bit of a Ryung fan. I want to see it go the distance. But we are now halfway through the broadcast. Just quickly checking that bracket. We have 3 series in the book. Heroes qualified, TY and Astrea as well. Again, a couple of upsets, you know, TY taking down Classic and Astrea being the first to qualify out of his group as well. We have 3 matches remaining. We're going to be going on a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Dark versus Ryung. We're going to have Creator versus Ragnarok, and then we're going to have Nice versus the loser of Creator and Ragnarok as well. Oh, so we have hit that halfway mark. So, yeah, really do appreciate it. Shout out to Holy Lime in the chat for resubscribing for 7 months in a row. Thank you so much, Holy Lime. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And hold on. Let me just quickly set up the duct tape. Because I do notice I've been playing the same duct tape over and over again. So we'll play a different one. But yeah, we're going to be going on a short break. When we return, we'll have the second half of the broadcast. See you soon. See you soon. Take this moment to hydrate Hydras, stretch your roaches, and drain all your disruptors. Bye.